Pro Style Production Network presents The Inside Look.
It's the Inside Look podcast presented by Planet Pizza and Birdie's Hider Mulching. Planet Pizza, the area's ultimate party location, school parties, team parties, birthday parties, and so much more. They truly are out of this world. They will deliver right now at this time, 701-852-1700. It is fantastic stuff. Give Planet Pizza a try. Birdie's Hider Mulching also brings you the Inside Look of the PSP Network. It's that time of the year. Turn your yard into one that you're proud of. Visit birdiesmulching.com to learn more. Levi Bjertness and his staff do a fantastic job at Birdie's Mulching. Today's special guest is Mason Morelli, a name that goes down in history as one of the best to ever come through the Minot High Magicians hockey program, currently playing professional hockey. First of all, Mason, thanks for some time today. How are things, man?
Good, Nicky. Good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Things are good. You know, trying to navigate through this uncharted territory like everyone in the world right now. But, I mean, aside from that, things are good. You know, I can't complain too much. It's actually been a little nice for me. Funny to say, but I've just had some good time with my family that I haven't had in a while, and we've kind of been taking it a day at a time, so things are good.
Awesome, man. What are you doing right now? Are you helping the family out at the shop, or are you just working on training, or what is the off season like for you right now at this special time?
Yeah, so I'm trying to, you know, obviously I'm trying to stay active as possible, and trying to stay in decent shape, you know, because they said there was the possibility of the season picking back up. But yeah, I'm just trying to, you know, go on walks, you know, do rollerblading, go biking with my family, trying to stay active, you know, get down to the lake and stuff. But yeah, for the most part, it's pretty limited resources. So I guess the biggest thing for me right now, I'm just trying to stay in shape, mainly outside.
When you look at your career, Mason, it's interesting. I've had the privilege of being able to follow your career since you were a small kid, coming up through the Minot High hockey program, where you were a powerhouse name. Of course, you come from a bloodline that in North Dakota is known because of Grandpa and your dad and the whole family. I mean, it's fantastic stuff. There's so much to talk about when we talk about Mason Morelli's hockey career. So where I want to start with this, for you, Mason, how about right now, what does the outlook look like for next year? And then we'll kind of work backwards and maybe pick away at this a little bit, because there's plenty to talk about all the way from your bantam days all the way until you're on the list for the Hobie Baker Award, for God's sakes. I mean, man, you're the real deal. You continue to be. What does the future hold for Mason Morelli? Are you going back to the American League, or where do you see yourself in the near future in the next season?
Yeah, so ideally I'd like to, you know, sign back in the American League, and, you know, hopefully work one day for my chance at a real shot in the NHL. That's every kid's dream, right? But yeah, right now I'm just hoping to get back to the American League next year and go from there and see what happens. But yeah, I mean, if that means signing with a different team, I'm okay with that. I mean, I would kind of like to go back with Calgary's team down in Stockton, California, because they treat you well. The hockey's good down there, and you know, you just get treated well off the ice also. So yeah, right now I'm just trying to, you know, figure things out, you know, with the general manager of that team. So hoping to get back to the American League, but yeah, like I said, just trying to stay in good shape and have a good summer of gains and you know, getting better. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
24 years old right now. Where do you see your game, Mason? Are you feeling like you're progressively getting better the older you become? When do you feel like Mason Morelli's going to hit his stride and reach his peak? What does that look like for you moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's kind of hard to say. I'm not sure. I hope I haven't hit my peak yet, because I want to play for a long time. You know, that's my goal. And you know, for this, you just love the game so much, you don't really think about not playing anymore. So hopefully I'll have a lot of years to come. But yeah, I'm just hoping to, like I said, I just try to take every summer one day at a time. You know, every player needs to get better. There's always things you can work on, and I think I know the parts of my game that I need to work on, and that's kind of where I'm at now, and trying to just make those little steps every day and get ready for the next season.
When did it sink into you when you got signed and you started playing in the American League after your last year at Nebraska Omaha, where you were fantastic? You were 34 points in 36 games, 19 goals, finished first in points that year. You were on the list for the Hobie stuff, and then all of a sudden the season's over and you get the call. You're gonna be paid to play hockey. What did that moment feel like for you? That had to have been pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it definitely was. I felt pretty grateful getting that opportunity there with them last year, and I'm hoping I can get some more opportunity there. And yeah, like I said, I mean, it's just it's an honor to be able to play hockey, the game that I love for my job. And like I said, I hope I can have that as my job for as long as possible, because I want to play for as long as my body can take. And yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty special. I was really happy to take that next step in my life.
What is the difference in the American League versus the college hockey ranks? The guys are bigger, quicker, faster, obviously all that sort of stuff. But what did you find to be the biggest change from Division I college hockey into the pros?
So the biggest thing for me, I thought, was guys are just a little more mature. They know how to handle the puck a little better. They manage it better. They don't make decisions that get you in trouble that some guys in college do, and even myself included. So that was a learning curve. But I think it's just, guys are just more professional, and they treat hockey as their job, and which it is, but they're just a little more professional with the things they do. You show up to the rink every day. You have to act like a pro, and warm up every day and treat your body correctly, because if you don't, then you're not going to be playing very long.
What was it like playing in Nebraska Omaha for Blazer? That had to have been pretty unique, being part of the lineage, the Morelli bloodline that had some Dean Blaze in it from way back in the day. Talk about your college days a bit and what it was like playing for Blazer and playing for the Mavericks.
Yeah, it was a pretty special time in college. I couldn't really have asked for a better experience. It's kudos to Coach Blaze, because he gave me some good opportunity there, and I had some really good teammates there, and I was blessed with a lot of exciting opportunities. So college was great. The hockey was good. We had a brand new rink down there too that Blaze helped build. So college was great. I couldn't ask for anything better.
What were you feeling going into that last year, after you go through your injury that you suffered around Christmas time your junior year? You're on a tear at that point. In 16 games, you had 14 points. You're one of the leaders. You're one of the best players talked about in the conference. Your leg goes down. You have an injury at Christmas time. What are those feelings like for you? And what was that like to rebuild coming back to your senior year with a little bit of a chip on your shoulder maybe?
It was definitely eye-opening for me, because when I had that injury, that's not a little one. So I kind of had to grow up a little bit and, get a little stronger mentally and tell myself, if I wanted to come back and be a competitor and push for ice time, I had to, I really had to grind and put the work in. And that's what I tried to do. And I'd like to think that I did that. And, I wanted to make sure when I came back, my leg was healthy and I could push for a spot on the team and, in the lineup every night. And, yeah, it was definitely something that I had to take a step back, but it definitely helped me, get a little bit stronger mentally and just learn some small things that I maybe wasn't as good at.
It was pretty impressive watching your senior year, and a guy like me that follows the stats, calling Minot High games and the Beaver games and being involved in the hockey community. I mean, people have their eye on you, man. They're watching what your numbers are doing, and that senior year with the Mavericks, you lit it up, man. I mean, good enough to the point where, you were mentioned as a second team honor for National Collegiate Hockey Conference, which is fantastic. You're on the list for the Hobie Baker stuff. What was that moment like when you saw that your name was on the list to be up for the running for the Hobie Baker Award, which is for the best college hockey player in the country?
Yeah, that was pretty special. I remember seeing that, and my mom and dad called me later that day, and they just thought it was pretty cool. And anytime make your parents proud, you feel a little extra special. So it was cool. It was pretty cool to see, and just to see all the support that I got from not only my family but like you and all my a bunch of my buddies back home, my family friends, just seeing that meant so much to me. Also, like that's something I've never really taken for granted. People who are behind you all the way, and that's something that I feel very lucky for.
You had a great junior career also, and one that I had the privilege of being there for your first ever junior game, and that was right after the high school hockey season that you played for Minot High, and in your final year of high school hockey, you were only a sophomore. You ended up with 40 points. You didn't even lead the team in point getting. That was Quinn Fuchs that had you by 5 points. Before we talk about your junior career, where does Quinn Fuchs rank on your list of the best players that you've ever had the privilege of playing with? Where does Quinn Fuchs fall in line in that conversation?
He's definitely up there. I've never played with someone who can put the puck on your stick like Quinny. His stats don't lie. Look how many assists he had versus goals. I bet the assists outweighed the goals 10-1. Like that guy was a true playmaker, and big props to him, because playing with him, if you have your stick on the ice, he's gonna find you, and you get some easy goals from him. And I was lucky because we got to play with each other basically all levels growing up. So yeah, it was great.
You still keep in contact with Fuchs? Are you guys still good buddies?
Oh yeah, me and Quinn are great buddies to this day. We will be forever.
Yeah, he's a player that I remember that sophomore year for you guys. That was kind of a rebuilding year maybe for the Magi. It was Chad Burkhart's 7th year. It wasn't the best team Minot High's ever had by any means. You guys went 8-5 in the West, 14-13 overall. You got thumped by Red River at the state tournament, but it was a young hockey team that really started to blaze that trail for the Magicians that took a 3rd place at state and then ended up winning the state championship. I know you weren't there for that, but what did that mean to you that you were in that program and kind of helped blaze that trail a little bit, Mason?
Yeah, it was really cool to see, because even though I wasn't on the team, I still knew a lot of those guys. Just they were a few years younger than me, but you still kind of grew up with those guys, and seeing them win that, and you just being a proud, you become a pretty proud alumni when that happens, and you just get so happy for those guys, because it'd been a while since Minot won, and we were just glad that we could contribute to that culture, trying to make a winning culture, and just to see it pay off for those guys, and not only for those guys but for all the alumni. It was pretty cool, and we're pretty proud of them.
On that note, before we talk about your junior days, this is a conversation that a lot of people have on leaving too early and not having the proper time to develop in high school. And your name comes up every time that I get in this argument. And when I talk to people, I say, are they Mason Morelli good, or are they just somebody that's going to end up on a junior B team they're going to ship away from Minot? Because that doesn't make any sense. But if they're good enough to be on the North American League side of things, in Minot, Bismarck, somewhere close to home, it makes sense if they're as good as Mason Morelli. Talk on that just a little bit, Mason, on what that decision was like after your sophomore year of high school with you and the family to decide to play in Minot for the next year with the Toros and then move on to Fargo for the remainder of your high school days.
Yeah, so this is something that you could debate for hours over. I'm sure you know that. But like you said, I think some kids get into a little bit of a rush. They get a little anxious, and they're like, oh, geez, I need to get out. I need to go move up a level to have these people notice me. But I don't necessarily think that's true, especially nowadays with all the social media, phones, videos. If where there's good players, people will find you. And, the kids nowadays shouldn't be in such a rush to get out of town, especially leaving your family. That's a big part. You don't ever get that time back with your family. But when I was in high school, it was kind of a unique situation because the Toros were right here. I could live at home. So it was just the puzzles kind of fell right into place, or the puzzle pieces fell right into place. So it kind of made sense for me. I had a good talk with my mom and dad about it, and I just think that kids are so rushed nowadays when they don't really need to be. Obviously, if you're real good and you're a gifted player, then definitely, if you want, playing against better competition will definitely make you better. But I think sometimes kids get so worked up and they want to get out of here so quick when that really doesn't always mean it's going to be beneficial.
100%. I like the way that you state that, and that's a conversation for a lot of people because it really is part of our game, especially in North Dakota with the way high school is structured with maybe not the best competition every single night, but nevertheless, you go on to play for the Toros, And I have to ask you this. Do you remember your first fight in the North American Hockey League as a 16-year-old? Do you remember that night?
Oh, I sure do, Nicky. I'll never forget that.
Walk us through that. I was in the penalty box, man, and I'll never forget this. I was in the penalty box announcing the game as the PA guy and playing the music. And after you got in that fight, you wailed on the kid, and just a natural reaction, I grabbed the microphone and just said, "Mason Morelli," and everybody just came to volume. And I remember looking over at your dad kind of like, holy cow, what did we just see here? Walk us through what you remember about that first tilt in the North American League.
Yeah, so right off the bat, before I say anything, I don't think my mom was a big fan of that. She kind of got on me a little bit, but nonetheless, yeah. So I mean, typical hockey, guys are getting, emotions are running high or whatever, and there's a little scrum in front, and you guys are giving it to each other, and next thing I know, this guy's kind of all over me, and he's taking my helmet off, and I was like, oh boy, okay, we're doing this. I mean, I gotta have my first sometime, right? There's a first for everything. So yeah, I mean, long story short, fight ended or whatever, and we both went skate off to the penalty box, and I remember feeling my face, and I had a big welt on my cheek because he got a good lick on me in my cheek, and one of the guys in the penalty box opens the penalty box door, grabs a chunk of ice off of the rink and gives it to me, and I'm holding a piece of ice on my face in the middle of the rink. It was hilarious, but yeah, it was fun. I mean, I have nothing but good memories with the Toros.
You had 3 points with the Toros in 11 games. You had the fight and one other minor penalty. The next year for the Toros, in 54 games, you ended up with 27 points and 74 penalty minutes. So you were a player that wasn't afraid to shake things up. You're an energy guy. You're a guy that had a rocket of a shot. Same thing for Fargo, it looks like, according to the stats. I mean, was that kind of your role in Minot as a junior in high school and then in Fargo for the next 2 years playing? Were you a guy that obviously you could bury the biscuit when called upon, but were you an energy kind of player, quote unquote, in Fargo as well?
Yeah, I think so. And I kind of pride myself on that a little bit, trying to bring some liveliness and some energy to the locker room, to the boys. And yeah, I think that I kind of took that role on, but I kind of like that. I kind of like, being a good locker room guy, going out there, giving the boys energy on the bench and pepping them up a little bit if they need it. And yeah, obviously you hope you can bury the puck when you get the chance, but yeah, it's been good. I've had some really good experiences in juniors and then leading up into college and pro.
In the pro game, how much has your game changed now, knowing that the game itself has changed so much? I mean, there's such a different way to play this day and age compared to, even when I grew up back in the early 2000s coming through Minot High and seeing the North American League at that time in Bismarck and, of course, the SJHL and Minot back in the day. The game has changed. How much has it changed in your mind, and how much has your role changed now when you're playing up just about to the National Hockey League? Is the game different up there for you, and what kind of role do you play there now?
Yeah, it's definitely changed. I mean, it's no secret that the game of hockey is getting faster and stronger. Guys are getting smarter. Guys are just more skilled nowadays, and they're bigger. But I mean, I think I've had to adapt a little bit. Like I said, kind of be that energy guy. I'm probably never going to be the Patrick Kane or the Sidney Crosby of a team. So, you got to try to find other ways to chip in and help the team. So yeah, that's kind of been my take on it. You just kind of find ways to help the team. And, yeah, I just think, the way the game's going with speed and strength, that's something I've been trying to work on, is get my speed up, try to become a little quicker. And I mean, you have to, because if you want to survive, that's what you got to do.
I got to ask you now about the family and the bloodlines. Did you, as a kid growing up, did you realize what an icon of North Dakota fighting Sioux hockey your grandpa Reg Morelli was? Talk about that a little bit. I mean, did you know how big of a deal Reg was at that time when you were growing up?
No, I really had no idea. I mean, when you're kind of that young, you just don't really understand things like that. But as I got a little older, I slowly bit onto it a little bit. And growing up, I was the biggest Sioux fan. I was gung-ho for them. My dad and my grandpa Reggie would take me to games all the time, and I would just be like, a kid in a candy store. So watching them grow up, I was, you're just in heaven there. So and then as I got a little bit older, I kind of understood, the family tradition there. And it was kind of cool when I was younger. Right when the realm opened up, Reggie took me and my cousin Adam down to skate, and we were to this day we were one of the first kids to skate on the Ralph when the ice got put in. So that's a cool memory I have of the Ralph with my grandpa Reggie. But yeah, I mean, just growing up Sioux fan, we had Sioux stuff everywhere in our house. We had a bunch of Sioux clothes. We were just diehard Sioux fans. So, when I decided to go play college at Omaha, my grandpa and my dad would give me a little grief.
I'm sure they would. Talk about your dad just a little bit. And anyone that knows Matt Morelli knows that, not only was he a great hockey player, he's just one of the best guys you're ever going to meet. What was it like growing up? And, I talk about it like you're 50 years old now. I mean, you're still, just a young man here. But what was it like growing up under the direction of Matt Morelli, who was a guy that understood hockey so well and just seems like such a great guy and a great dad? Touch on what the old man was like growing up when everyone knew that you were going to be a powerhouse hockey player that had a big future.
Yeah, so that's something I can't stress enough, giving my dad and my grandpa Reggie the credit, because, they kind of pushed me out of the nest to go try hockey. And funny, real quick story is when I first tried hockey, my dad took me to skate and I hated it. And my dad's like, geez, what's wrong with this kid? And, then, obviously a couple weeks or months later or whatever, I started loving it. And, just all the credit to the world all the credit in the world to my dad, because he just grew me up around hockey. He'd always, all the times I would ask him to play floor hockey or go out in the driveway and shoot pucks, or, I'd have him suit up with some gear on and go in the net, and I'd rip pucks at him and probably bruise his shins for a month. But just being there for me and supporting me in any endeavor that I've had with hockey, is something that you can't put a price on. And to this day I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am without his support and his constant guidance. So to him and my grandpa Reggie, it's something that you just can't really say thanks enough to.
You got a little brother that's coming through the program. How good is Mac? Is he the real deal? Is he going to be a guy that goes on, you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the thing that I really admire about Mac is he has that drive. When kids are young, if they want to get better and they really enjoy the game, you can tell that they're probably going to move on because they want to get better and they do what it takes to improve their game. Mac always wants to stick handle, shoot pucks, work out. So just to see that gives me a good hunch that he's gonna love the game the way I did, and hopefully it works out for him.
Love it, man. And I appreciate your time today. It's fantastic. It's always fun to talk to you. I mean, a guy that loves hockey the way you do and has the stories and the success that you've had. I have to ask, is there one story that comes to your mind as one of your best memories of playing hockey? Doesn't matter what age level, all the way up until now, just a few months ago. Is there one that stands off to you as one of the best memories that you have, Mason?
Well, kind of a little less boring one, but a story I do remember very faintly is when I was really young with my dad. It was when the Mesa was getting built, and I remember my dad would take me there multiple times, and we'd go over there and help him. We'd go over there and help him do stuff. I don't even remember what the jobs they'd have us do, but I just remember as a really young kid, my dad we'd go over there a few times here and there to help them out with odd jobs, and I just remember that growing up, helping build the Mesa. And I just think that's a cool story that I can share with my dad, because we kind of pitched in a little bit for the building for the construction of that building.
That's fantastic stuff. What do you think of Minot as a whole and the tradition and the programs and kind of the state of hockey in the Magic City? Your thoughts on overall Minot, North Dakota as a hockey town?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is hockey's starting to get a little more noise. People are becoming a little more aware of it, and I think kids are starting to like it a little more. And like you said, Fargo, Grand Forks, those other big spots, there's more kids are playing, and there's more teams that want to come play and that want us to come play. So, I think as the word spreads a little more, and with the new rink of at Mesa, Pepsi side, and these outdoor rinks that are in Minot around in the winter, I just think that hockey's getting more attention. And, it's cool to see, because I think it's such a great sport. I mean, I know I'm a little biased, but I just think it's so much fun, and kids have so much fun playing, and they just fall in love with it and play it for a long time. So it's pretty cool to see that these cities like Minot are getting more players and more competitive players.
What is your one piece of advice to any young hockey player coming through the program right now?
So like I kind of said earlier with my younger brother, Mac, I think the biggest piece of advice is you got to want to get better. When you're just hanging out at home or you're bored, you got to go out and do something. I don't think kids should be bored. When I was younger, I was always shooting pucks, doing something. So I think that's my biggest piece of advice. Kids need to get outside and work on things and just kind of, if you really love the game, you'll want to get better. And I think that's the biggest thing. Just work hard, because if you work hard, good things happen.
We're all cheering for you, man. Just a fantastic career so far, and hopefully there's many more years of it to come your way. And, couldn't be a better guy to talk to about a career that's going well than you, with just the way you handle yourself, man. Proud to call you a buddy, and thanks again for your time today.
Hey, I appreciate it, Nicky. Great to talk to you.
This has been a presentation of the Pro Style Production Network. Visit www.psp.network. Follow us on Facebook at the PSP Network, and follow us on Twitter at Network PSP. PSP Network. It's game day.